Hello everyone. In this video we're going to talk again about transformations. This time we're going into rotations and how they affect figures on coordinate systems. So over to the right here I have our wonderful Super Bowl 53 logo, and it's going to help us practice these rotations. So I have a couple of points I'm going to go ahead and label just on the outside there. Okay. A, B, C, and D. We're going to walk through these rotations, how those rotations affect those coordinates, and kind of see what rotations actually do here. Okay. So rotations. What is a rotation? Well, a rotation is also known as a turn. And it's where it's a turn of a figure in the coordinate system using a pivot point, a point at which it rotates around. Okay, so it uses this pivot point, and that pivot point helps it rotate to a certain degree. Okay. Well, all right. But what happens when we rotate? What happens to these figures when we rotate them? Now, as far as pivot points go, the pivot point that we're going to concern ourselves with at this point in time is going to be the origin. So from here on out, when I say the pivot point or the origin, you can identify those as being one and the same. As you go further in your math careers, you'll learn how to rotate figures using different or specific pivot points that are not the origin, but for this purpose we're just going to stick with that. Okay, so here's what happens. Now obviously we have different types of rotations. We have the clockwise direction, we have counterclockwise direction. I can rotate a figure 30 degrees, 60 degrees. I mean, I have everything in the sun from 0 to 360. We are only going to concern ourselves with multiples of 90 degrees right now. So let's talk about rotating it 90 degrees. We'll start with clockwise, and then I'll discuss how you can determine the counterclockwise action. To rotate a figure 90 degrees clockwise, you take the original coordinates, x, y, and you're going to translate them so that we have y in the x position and the opposite of x in the y position. Okay? And that's how we would write that. Let's use a more solid, concrete example. So A over here, oops, in our Super Bowl figure, okay, A is right there. That is at the point 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's at point 4, 5. So I'm going to come back over here, 4, 5. So when I rotate this letter A, or this figure, 90 degrees clockwise, letter A is going to change from 4, 5 to, well, what once was y is now x. So the y changes to the x position, and the x, its opposite, changes to the y position. So it changes to 5, negative 4. And we come back over here, 5, negative 4, so it drops down and it'll go right there. Okay, that's going to be our new A location. Right? Let's try another one. Let's do B. What about B? B is in the position 7, 6. So after it is rotated 90 degrees clockwise, its new coordinates is going to be 6, -7. So we'll go 6, 4, 5, 6, and then -7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right there. Okay, right there is where B is now going to be. Okay, right, and we would go on so on like this, so on and so forth. C is 10, 2. So its new coordinates are going to be 2, -10. And then D here is 2, 1. Its coordinates are going to be 1, -2. Okay, so here's going to be D. And then 2, -10. Right here. It's going to be C. Okay. Now I know it doesn't look like much right now, so let's go ahead and check out this figure, and I'm going to copy it. Okay, copy that figure right there. Let's get another one that we can rotate. Now again, when we rotate about the origin, it's almost like I'm putting a pencil on the origin and I'm dragging that figure at the same time, okay? So that it's going to rotate. And let's move it on down. About that point. So it'll rotate about that point, staying level. Okay. And voila. All right. Now obviously the letters are covered up, but they're still there. The points are still, the A is still above the L, the B is still about the middle of the bottom of the football, C is on the top of the blue Super Bowl strip, and then D is at the bottom corner here. Okay, so that's what it would look like if we rotated 90 degrees clockwise. So what happens in counterclockwise actions? When we are rotating counterclockwise, what we're going to do is we're going to take what we know about the clockwise and we're going to just do the opposite of that. Well, it does not make sense because the counterclockwise is opposite of clockwise. Okay, so over here to the side, I'm going to go ahead and write counterclockwise, or CCW. You might also see CCW. That means counterclockwise. Okay. When we're doing clockwise, it goes y -x. Well, counterclockwise, a ordered pair xy will change to -y, +x. So you can kind of see how it's the complete opposite of clockwise. And let's see if I can get this whole thing on the board here. So instead of y, we have -y, and instead of x, instead of -x, we have +x. Okay, and that's counterclockwise 90 degrees. All right, so that takes care of the 90 degrees. Let's talk about what happens if we rotate at 180 degrees. And we're still dealing with clockwise here. Okay? When we rotate a figure 180 degrees about the origin again, what happens to the ordered pairs? Well, again, we can kind of picture this just by taking a pencil and connecting it to the figure and dragging it with our pencil 1, 2. So it rotates or it changes its position twice. 290s equal 180. So we can kind of have an idea that it's going to end up in the third quadrant here. And what's really going to happen is those ordered pairs are just going to change to their opposites. Okay. Let's get going on these ones. All right. So A, again, I'm starting with the original A is 4, 5. That's going to instead be -4, -5. B is the original image is 7, 6. This rotated 180 degrees clockwise image is going to be -7, -6, and so on and so forth for C and D. Okay? They just changed their signs. If I had -10, +2, then it would be +10, -2. So if it's a negative, it's going to change. So it's the opposite. When you see a negative sign in front of x, that means the opposite of the x value. So if x is negative, the opposite is a positive. Please keep that in mind. Just because there's a negative out in front doesn't mean it's always going to be negative. That just means the opposite of. All right, so what's this all going to look like? Well, come back over here to our Super Bowl guy. When we rotate it, okay, 180 degrees, well, we rotated in the second, or in the fourth quadrant, it looks like this. So when it rotates again, you got it. It's going to be upside down. Okay, and then it'll be moved this way. And just up just a little bit more. That's exactly where it's going to be. Now, how do I know where it's going to exactly be? What I did was I used my new coordinates. So I saw that D was going to be at -2, -1, which is right here. That's D. Bottom of the Super Bowl sign, bottom of the Super Bowl sign. Awesome. Okay. C then is right here. B right here at -7, -6. And then A is right there at -4, -5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay. All right. So there's our image now. Okay. So far we've rotated it 2 different ways. Let's talk about the counterclockwise action of the 180-degree turn. So when we're doing counterclockwise of 180 degrees, well, think about it. 180 degrees is flipping it upside down, right? So it turns out that the counterclockwise 180 is going to be the exact same as the clockwise. So that makes that one easy. Yay! All right. So let's grab some more paper here and continue discussing. The only one left, which is our 270. Okay. So when we rotate a figure 270 degrees clockwise, what happens is our original ordered pair becomes -yx. Okay, so in the new x position, we have our negative y value. In the new y position, we have our x value. All right, do some examples again, because sometimes this negative yx stuff can get quite confusing. Let's see, I forgot what. Let's use this one. Okay. If you want to try these on your own, go ahead, please work ahead and see how you do. Pause the video and then come on back, see how you did compared to what the real or correct new coordinates are. Okay, so A is 4, 5. So what happens is we take the y value, take its opposite and put it in the x position. And then we're going to take the x value and put it in the y position. Oops, just like that. What's going on goofy here with my pen? There we go. Hopefully that'll fix it. All right, so what happens to B? Well, we got negative 6, 7. C, negative 2, 10. And D becomes negative 1, 2. What does that look like over here in the picture? We had our Super Bowl guy, Super Bowl sign. We're rotating it 90, 180, 270. So it's going to turn on its side. But not only that, but because we're rotating it about the origin, it ends up over, whoops, into the second quadrant, but not quite that far. Okay. And about right there is where it'll end up. Okay. Taking a look at this, we have D right here at negative 1, 2. We have B right here at negative 6, 7. A is here. And then C is slightly off the page here, but it's at negative 2, 10. All right. Before we end here, to let you off practicing with these rotations on your own, let's quick do the counterclockwise for the 270 degrees. When we are counterclockwise-ing a figure, we take the original ordered pair, and once again we're going to do the opposite of what we did here. So instead of the opposite of y, we're just going to take y. Instead of x, we're going to take the opposite of x. Okay? All right. And that is rotations. We get all sorts of fun little actions going on here. Okay. Thank you for watching. I hope you've taken some good notes and figured out a little bit something new about rotations with the origin as our pivot point, remember. Please continue on the Canvas website to find and complete your homework. Thank you.